Starting your garden seeds indoors can definitely save you money. It can be easy and it's definitely a lot of fun. Hi, I'm GardenerScott, and I discuss everything gardening so that you can become a better gardener. Today's topic is getting started with growing seeds indoors. I'm in the corner of my basement where I'll be starting seeds very soon. I'm already set up, ready to go, but if you're just starting or maybe expanding or maybe not sure about how to start your seeds, in this video I'll cover just about everything you need to know to get started. We'll talk about the containers, we'll talk about the medium that you'll start your seeds in, and how you can control the light, the humidity, the heat, and a few of those other things that you need to know to get started growing seeds. Let's begin by discussing containers, because you have to grow your seed in something. And I'm in the kitchen because there are many options in my kitchen for containers for starting seeds. I like to recycle as much as I can in the garden. So when I eat some yogurt, I save the cup, and this is ideally suited for starting seeds. You've probably seen these red Solo cups. Start seeds, grow the little plants in them. I'll save sour cream containers, the plastic cup from my local burger joint, and occasionally I'll microwave a meal that has these nice plastic bowls. This is wonderful for starting a large number of seeds. If you're just doing a few seeds, you don't have to buy a bunch of pots. Just reuse some of what you already have. Now, if you're doing a lot of seeds, I'll show you in just a second some of the options for that, because I do a lot of seeds and a lot of that requires a purchase. But if you're just getting started, or maybe this year you're just doing a few plants indoors, recycle some of what you can find in the kitchen. Yogurt cups and other recycled containers are great for a small number of seeds, like a handful of tomatoes and peppers that you might be growing from seed. But if you're doing a lot, you need to think about the space required, because even those little yogurt cups can take up a lot of space if you're starting 72 or maybe 150 seeds. And that's when you need to start thinking about getting into trays and cells and growing from seed in a system that's designed for a lot of seeds. For growing a lot of seeds indoors, you probably want to consider growing in these trays. They're designed for 72 seeds all within the tray. This, by Jiffy, uses peat pellets. And here's a system from Burpee that's very similar, but instead of the peat pellets, it uses cocoa core pellets. And then, as I'll discuss in a minute, if you want to make your own seed starting mix, all you need is a tray with the individual cells. Again, it's 72 within this standard size. There are many advantages to growing in a system like these. First, the size. 72 individual plants can fit within this tray. And if you just have a single light, well, then you're set up for 72 plants. But I've got 4 shelves here. This shelf unit can start almost 300 seeds in just a small amount of space. And some of these include everything you need to start growing. In this peat pellet-based system, the pellets inside are ready for seeds. You just stick a seed in it, it'll start growing. And they'll come with a little dome that goes on top that allows you to keep the moisture, the humidity level in. These trays will last for years and years. With these pellet-based systems, you just buy new pellets each year. For a system like this without the pellets, you fill these individual cells with your soilless seed starting mix, and again, they last for years and years. And then there are systems that are a hybrid. These consist of peat cells, where you put these individual cells in the tray and then you fill them with your growing medium. When it comes time to plant, you just cut apart all of these little individual peat pots and put them in the ground. If you don't want to go to the trouble of saving yogurt cups and other things around your kitchen, you can go ahead and purchase little pots or reuse the pots that you might buy from a nursery. These little black plastic ones, again, will last for a long time, are about the same size as a yogurt cup and do a great job. Or you can get the same thing, but it's made out of peat. The difference being that if you grow in plastic, any of these trays or any of the plastic pots, you will have to take out the plant to transplant it. By growing in something that's made out of peat or many of the other organic products available, you plant this whole pot into the ground when it comes time to transplant. In deciding your choice of container, you do need to anticipate what the future will bring. Now, I like these cells because I can grow a lot of seeds in a small space, but almost all of these will require transplanting into bigger pots before I put them outside. So they'll be going into those yogurt-sized containers, those little black plastic or peat pots. You can bypass this requirement and go straight into those pots if you've got the room to do so. And by now, I'm sure you've got a much better understanding of what you're going to choose. And I will put links below to a lot of these different options if you choose to grow with one of them. Let's go ahead and move on to the requirements for the seeds, what they're actually going to be growing in when you start seeds indoors. These are some melon seeds that I saved last year from a delicious melon that I plan to grow in my garden this year. The wonderful thing about these seeds is that everything it needs to grow into a plant is included within this seed. All you have to do is add a little bit of moisture and a little bit of heat, and it will germinate and start growing. If you provide some medium for the roots to become established, you now have a plant from this tiny little seed. Now, you may have already figured out when I showed you the cocoa coir pellets and the peat pellets that it doesn't require a lot of nutrition, because peat and coir don't have any nutrition. They're just providing a place for the roots to develop. So don't worry about getting fancy when it comes to choosing your seed starting medium. As those little roots begin to grow, they grow best in a very light, soilless medium. That's one reason why it's not recommended to use your garden soil to start seeds, because it's too dense and those little roots might have trouble growing. When you go to the store, you can find a lot of seed starter mixes. And if you look on the back of the package, you'll see the ingredients. And almost always, the primary ingredients consist of a very large percentage of peat and or coir. That's one reason why I like to make my own seed starter mix to save money. And I've got a video where I show my recipe and exactly how I do it. But when I make my own seed starter mix, not only am I saving money, but I can determine exactly how fluffy and how light this mix is for starting my seeds. There's a big difference between a seed starter mix and a potting soil mix. And when you understand the difference, you'll have much better success with your plants. Seed starter mixes, in addition to the peat and or coir, will have perlite and vermiculite to help with the drainage. They might add a little bit of lime to help balance the pH of the peat. Some companies might add polymers to help retain some moisture, but rarely do they have fertilizers. Some companies will add a little bit, but remember, it's not necessary because the seed has everything it needs to begin the growth. They're intended to be used until the seedling reaches a point where it's transplanted. Seed starter mixes are not good for growing plants in for a long period of time. So if you're growing in one of these larger containers, don't use a seed starter mix to fill the whole thing. Maybe a little bit at the top so the seed can get started, but there's no nutrition in it. That's where potting soil mixes come in, because a potting soil has nutrition added. It's got the worm castings, it's got the compost, it's got the added fertilizers. Because after the plant starts growing, that seedling is going to need some nutrition. And a seed starter mix won't supply that, but a potting soil mix will. So anticipate that there are differences. And you can't necessarily start a seed in potting soil mix. It's probably too dense, too chunky. Look on the back of a potting soil bag and you'll see that one of the primary ingredients is probably something like forest products, which means it's just ground up wood. It might be partly composted, maybe not, but it's going to be chunky. Again, if you're growing in one of these containers, you can fill it mostly with potting soil mix, put that little bit of seed starter mix at the top, and then you'll have success, because this plant will have everything it needs for starting and then nutrition, and you can place it outside. Because I'm growing in the individual cells, I have two different mixes, the seed starter mix and the potting soil mix, before it goes outside. I have another video where I discuss the light requirements of seedlings, and I've got a video where I show how I set up this basement grow area, and I'll put links to both of those videos below. The seed itself does not require light to germinate in most cases, but once the seedling breaks the surface of your soil, it definitely needs light. So in getting ready for growing seeds indoors, you've got to think about what your light setup is going to be. It can be a simple 24-inch hanging fluorescent light. It can be LEDs. It can be an individual bulb. And you can check out the videos to understand what I mean by that. Regardless, have your lights ready to go before you start your seeds. If you wait until the seedling is grown, it's going to get leggy and it's not going to be very strong if it's searching for the light that's not there. Remember when I mentioned the domes that go on top of those tray seed starter systems? They hold in humidity. Well, that's very important. You need something to hold humidity around the seedling when it's just starting out. Those little teeny plants will dry out very quickly, especially in dry winter air that many of us have in our houses. And if you're growing in yogurt cups, they don't come with domes to keep the humidity in. But there are some nice options. In fact, here's one that I found. This is a container that held lettuce. I got it from my grocery store. The lettuce is inside and it's got a top to it. Or you turn it upside down, the top becomes the bottom, and now the container that held the lettuce is a dome. So if I place my yogurt cups filled with little plants, I can place this dome on top of it, and that will help hold the humid air around those very small seedlings. Another option, also from the produce section of my grocery store, is a produce bag. All you have to do is place your bag over your yogurt cups, or you're growing in your solo cups. Place it over the solo cups. Now you're holding humidity near the plant. Another product that can help you have better success when you start seeds indoors is a heat mat. You just plug this in and it warms up the soil and the small plants, giving them an extra boost. Now the air in most of our houses is warm enough to germinate the seeds and get the seedlings growing. But there are some plants, like peppers for instance, that really prefer a warmer soil. And these heat mats will warm 10, maybe 12 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the surrounding air, which really gives a boost to the germination rates and the growth of some of those early young seedlings. The size of these mats coincidentally matches the size of these trays. You don't have to get a mat, but it's one of those extras where you might see some benefits if you use it. The containers, the soilless mixes, the lights, the humidity, the heat, those are the most important factors to be aware of when you start your seeds indoors. And if you have any questions about any of that, please let me know in the comments below. I'll do another video that will show the entire process, from starting the seeds and seeing the germination, to holding in the humidity and understanding how the lights work, how to water, how to fertilize. All of that is coming up in another video. And to see that video and many more, please subscribe to the GardenerScott channel and be sure to click on the bell so you're notified when the new videos are coming out every week. If you like this video, well then give me a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit. I'm GardenerScott. Enjoy gardening.